السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. الشهور 12 مثل أولاد يعقوب عليه وعليهم السلام، وشهر رمضان بين الشهور كيوسف بين إخوته. فكما أن يوسف أحب الأولاد إلى يعقوب، فكذلك شهر رمضان أحب الشهور إلى علام الغيوب. One of the things that Ibn al-Qayyim says rahimahullah is that the months of course are 12, quite like the 12 children of Yaqub alayhi salam. And the example of Ramadan is like the example of Yusuf alayhi salam in comparison to his other 11 brothers. And just like Yusuf alayhi salam was the most beloved son to Yaqub alayhi salam, then perhaps in a comparable way, Ramadan is the most beloved month to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are living, my dear brothers, in that month. This is a month, hiya kattaj ala ra'si zaman. This is a month that is the crowned month. It's the month of all months. We are living in that time, in this time, in these days, in these minutes and seconds and hours in which those who are not made will be made with the mercy of Allah. We're living in those days, in those times, those minutes and those moments. Those who are not saved will be saved with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are living in this month, إِذَا جَاءَ رَمَضَانَ فُتِحَتْ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. When the month of Ramadan comes, the gates of paradise are open. And so, إِذَا جَاءَ شَهْرُ الصِّيَامِ بِالْبَرَكَاتِ فَأَكْرِمْ بِهِ مِنْ زَائِدْ هُوَ. The poet said, when Ramadan comes with its blessings, then honor the guest when he arrives. And what does Ramadan come for? أتى رمضان مزرعة العباد لتطهير القلوب من الفساد. Ramadan has come to purify and cleanse our hearts from the corruption within our hearts. This is the month, my dear brothers, of forgiveness. This is the month of mercy. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam, who is our prisoner prophet, our prophet who was imprisoned, our prophet who languished in a prison cell, our prophet who was wrongly and falsely accused, our prophet who was pointed fingers at, our prophet who used to raise his hands in a prison cell and ask Allah for liberation. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam is our imprisoned prophet, Ramadan is our month that also seeks to liberate. Just like Yusuf alayhi salam was liberated after being imprisoned, then Ramadan has come with Allah's mercy to liberate us from the shackles of sin, from the shackles, from the weight of our own dhulm, from the weight of our own injustice. So we should remember that, my dear brothers. It's so apt that we're in this month and that we're collecting for children, for families of Muslims who are imprisoned. What is the reward of those who are in prison, or the rewards of those who suffer generally? We should not see people that because people suffer, because people undergo some hardship, it must be some curse fallen on their head. Perhaps in fact it's entirely the opposite. For have we forgotten the hadith of Rasulullah ﷺ when he said, إِذَا أَحَبَّ اللَّهُ قَوْمًا ابْتَلَاهُمْ. When Allah loves a nation, He tries and tests them. مَنْ يُرِدْ اللَّهُ بِخَيْرًا يُصِبْ مِنْهُ. When Allah desires good for a person, He tests and tries him. Have we forgotten the hadith when He said, إِنَّ الرَّجُلِ. Indeed a man, he has a manzila, he has a station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but cannot attain that station. And so Allah decides to test him in his body or in his wealth or something else until he reaches that station with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Have we forgotten the hadith? ما يصيب المؤمن من وصب ولا نصب ولا سقم ولا حزن حتى الهم يهمه إلا كفر الله سبحانه وتعالى من خطاياه. Allah does not test and inflict the believer with any tiredness or any pain or any anguish or any suffering, even at any kind of suffering for him, except Allah removes his sins by way of that suffering. And that's the first thing I wanted to mention. You know, I didn't know in fact that Hajj was set up by women, by sisters. And when I knew of that, one of the first things I remembered, in fact, was the story of Hajar alayhi salam, of a wife of a prophet, a woman. And I thought of her sacrifice, the one that we reenact every time we go for Umrah or Hajj. We make the same journey. We make the same sa'i. And sa'i means effort. What do we do in the sa'i? We walk, and then we run, and then we climb. The effort of this woman was some walking, and some running, and then some climbing. وَأَن لَيْسَ لِلْإِنسَانِ إِلَّا مَا سَعَى وَأَنَّ سَعْيَهُ سَوْفَ يُرَى. Allah says, indeed, man will have what he made effort for, and indeed he'll see the fruits of his effort. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى إِنَّ سَعْيَكُمْ لَشَتَّى. Allah says, Allah takes an oath by the night and by the day. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, by the night as it covers, and by the day as it comes in glory, and by the creation of the male and the female. Indeed, your sa'i, your efforts are diverse. The efforts that you make are diverse, they're so different. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَصَدَّقَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. As for the one, and these are his sifat, these are his qualities, as for the one who spends, he gives in Allah's cause, and he has taqwa of Allah, and he believes correctly in goodness, Allah makes easy for him his path in dunya and akhirah. وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. Allah says, as for the one who is a miser, he hoards his wealth, he keeps his wealth to himself, right? And he disbelieves, he denies. Allah makes it hard for him. Allah paves the way for him for his hardship in dunya and akhirah. Allah says, وُجُوهُ يَوْمَئِذٍ نَاعِمَةٍ لِسَعْيِهَا رَاضِيَةٍ. Faces on that day will be beautiful because of the sa'i, because of the efforts they used to make. And so we should understand and realize, what is it, my dear brothers? It's about the efforts we make. Like the poet said, على قدر أهل العزم تأتي العزائم وتأتي على قدر أهل الكرام المكارم وتعظم في عين الصغير صغارها وتصغر في عين العظيم عظامها. على قدر أهل العزم تأتي العزائم. By the scale and by the degree of one man's initiative, one man's effort, then effort is established. By the degree and by the scale of one man's generosity, generosity is established. You can't say, for example, I don't pray because no one in my family prays. You pray, and then salah is established in your home. I can't say everyone's a Scrooge in my house, no one likes to give in Allah's cause. You be the one who gives, and then giving is established in your house. It's by the scale, my dear brothers, of the effort that we individually make that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showers His grace and favors upon us. Do we not remember the hadith of Sahih Muslim? Inna Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala yanzuru hadhihi al-ummah. Allah gives nusra to this ummah. By who? In this hadith, بِضَعَفَائِكُمْ, by their weak ones. Why? بِدَعْوَتِهِمْ وَصَلَاتِهِمْ وَإِخْلَاصِهِمْ, by their intentions, correct as they are, and by their sincerity, correct as it is, and by their du'as, as correct as they are. Right? It's about the scale and by the degree of our effort, that effort is established. I didn't know, in fact, and I learned some weeks ago that Hugs is supporting 100 families. And when I realized Hugs was supporting 100 families, it reminded me, in fact, of a story. The story of Ali bin Hussein, rahmatullah alayhi. Not Hussein bin Ali, of whom we know from the Ahlul Bayt of our Prophet, from the family of our Prophet ﷺ. But in fact, his son, the son of Hussein radiallahu ta'ala anhu, one of whom was called Ali, Ali bin Hussein. كان الناس بالمدينة يعيشون ولا يدرون من أين يعيشون ومن يعطيهم. The people of Medina used to live, and they didn't know, in fact, how they used to live, who used to provide for them, tangibly, physically. ولما مات علي بن حسين فقدوا ذلك فعرفوا أنه هو الذي كان يأتيهم في الليل بما يأتيهم به. And when Ali bin Hussein died, they realized he was the one, in fact, who used to come and provide for them. When he died, they found on his back marks and bruises and cuts from the sacks of wheat and rice and grain that he used to carry and deposit to 100 families in Medina. one man's effort, subhanAllah, to 100 families in Medina, the man used to carry these sacks on his back, and no one knew of that good action of his. Just like we're fasting, right? كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصيام فإنه لي وأنا أجزي به. In the hadith Qudsi, all of the actions of the son of Adam are for him except fasting. Fasting is for me, and I reward for fasting. Ibn Qudama says about this, the reason is أنه السر وعمل باطن لا يراه الخلق ولا يدخله الرياء. Because fasting is secret, fasting is hidden. No one can see the fast. Right? And so insincerity perhaps won't enter this action of ours, the fast. This is how he distributed his generosity to the people of his town, his community who was suffering because of poverty. He distributed sacks and rice to them. One upon occasion, Muhammad ibn Usama bin Zayd came to him, the son of Usama bin Zayd, وَبَكَّ, and he cried. Ali bin Hussein asked him, "Ma yabkik, why do you cry?" He says, "Alayya dayn, I have a debt." He says, "Kam huwa, how much is it?" He said, 15,000 dinars. My debt is 15,000 dinars. He said, 2 words, my dear brothers. I wonder, in fact, when I can become a person of 2 words and 1,000 steps, 100 steps, rather than we become a people of 1,000 words and 2 steps. Like having so many talks and doing so many talks and writing so many books and writing so many leaflets and taking 2 steps. He said 2 words, huwa alay, it's on me. That debt you have of 15,000 dinars is on me. On me. Those are his 2 words. I wonder if we can ever become a people of 2 words, but then take 100 steps with those 2 words, rather than a people of becoming 100 or 1,000 words and taking 2 steps with those words. This is, my dear brothers, our business. What is it? It's our business. Why is it our business? Every dhulm is our business. Every injustice is our business. You know, a dhulm is so basic, it's so patent, it's so plain, it's so obvious. Our Prophet described it as اتقوا الظلم فإن الظلم ظلمات يوم القيامة. Beware of dhulm, beware of an injustice, because injustice is darkness on the day of judgment. What is it? It's an absence. When a brother is in prison, for example, when our sister Afia Siddiqui is in prison, when someone is snatched and taken away to Guantanamo Bay or Bagram or Abu